How to get water on your property: wells, boreholes, or well points. In just a few minutes, I'll explain how water wells actually work, what types there are, and what kind of water you can expect. This is a general overview that fits most regions except for places with solid bedrock or mountain folds where things are a bit different. But it's still going to be interesting. Let's go. Imagine this. Picture a huge tank filled with water. Say 160 feet deep and 2 miles wide. Somewhere near the top stands a little person trying to get a drink from it. The simplest thing he can do is lower a bucket, pull it up and drink, or he can drop in a submersible pump to deliver water through a pipe, or he could just lower a thin straw and sip directly like drinking a soda. Now, the thinner the straw, the easier it is to draw water, less air, less effort. But if the distance between the water surface and the person is more than about 30 feet, he simply cannot suck the water up. That's a physical limit, the vacuum forms, and water starts to boil under low pressure. You can't overcome it. In perfect lab conditions, the limit is about 33.5 feet, 10.2 meters. That's at sea level, no friction, perfect pressure. But in real life, with friction losses and imperfect conditions, we take 30 feet as the practical limit. Rocks, sand, and filters. Now imagine throwing a few rocks into that tank. Would they stop the person from drinking? No, water still flows freely between them. Add more rocks, still fine. Make the rocks smaller, water still gets through. But once those rocks turn into sand, water starts carrying grains into the straw. You get a mouthful of grit. So what's the solution? Drill tiny holes or cover the openings with a fine mesh screen. That's your filter. Now our tank is full of sand and water. The person lowers the straw with a filter and can still drink because water flows between sand grains. But if the grains get even smaller, almost like clay dust, then water can barely pass through. The gaps between particles are so tiny that water moves extremely slowly. Over millions of years, layers of sand get buried under clay, and at the bottom lies solid rock like shale or limestone. That's your classic geological cross-section. Rock at the bottom, clay above it, then sand, and on top, silt and soil. How people get water. Now let's see how people actually extract water from such layers. The traditional well, someone starts digging a big hole. If they reach the sand layer perfect, water starts seeping in and fills the well. They lower concrete rings or blocks to form the walls, build a little shed on top, and done. But often they stop too early before hitting the real aquifer and get a shallow, weak well. The borehole, deep. Another person hires a driller who installs PVC casing and a filter screen at the bottom. A submersible pump is placed inside to lift the water up. Depth can be anything 100, 150, even 300 feet, depending on the local geology. The key is the filter must reach the water-bearing layer, the well point, aka Abyssinian well dog. This is the simplest and cheapest option. Take a 1-inch steel pipe, 2532 with a small filter at the tip, and just drive it into the ground with a sledgehammer or water jet. If it reaches a sandy layer, you can attach a surface suction pump or even a manual hand pump and start drawing water. But remember, suction pumps can only pull from about 25-30 feet deep. If your static water level is deeper, you'll need a submersible pump instead. A well point can often be installed by yourself without heavy equipment and costs almost nothing compared to drilled wells. Costs and differences. All three, the well, the sand borehole, and the well point, draw water from the same aquifer. They just differ in design and maintenance. A well is open to the air, so bacteria, algae, frogs, and even debris can get in. You need to clean it every year. A borehole is sealed with plastic casing. The water stays cleaner. And filters can be designed precisely for the layer you want. Over time though, filters can clog due to calcium or iron deposits, a process called incrustation. older wells with metal screens suffered from this, but modern plastic filters are more resistant. Still, shallow well points are usually not worth cleaning. It's cheaper to make a new one. If you have no sand at all, only dense clay, then the only option is a traditional well. Clay holds some water in its pores, but it seeps out very slowly. And if you drill even deeper to reach a pressurized aquifer, you'll need steel casing, professional equipment, and, of course, a bigger budget. Summary. So that's a quick overview of how people get water from the ground. Every method has pros and cons, but all of them rely on the same natural principle: layers of sand and rock that store and filter water underground. Don't forget to subscribe to Roms's Life for more videos where I show real drilling, DIY well points, and explain which method is best and why you probably shouldn't just hammer a pipe into the ground without knowing what's below it. Stay healthy and see you next time.